So guys, this boy broke up with his girlfriend, but instead of moving on, he came up with a very horrible plan that involved him passing his ex-girlfriend to his friend, who would then assist him in executing a very terrible plan that would end with the girl's head being burned inside a clay pot in the middle of the night. What's also scary about this story is the fact that all the suspects in this case were teenagers and none of them were above the age of 20. On the night of January 28, 2022, the vigilantes keeping watch over a community in Abeokuta, Ogun State, Nigeria, had done their initial surveillance of the area, and their findings were that everywhere was calm and peaceful. However, around 11 p.m. that night, they were told by residents that they heard a noise that sounded as though someone was dragging something with some people inside a building in the area, and since it was late at night, they couldn't go in to check. The head of the vigilante team called his colleagues and then headed towards the building, completely unaware of the horror awaiting them inside. When they got to the scene, they met other residents both in front and at the back of the house. As they attempted to gain access to the building, two boys were seen running out through the back door. The residents who saw them escape thought they were thieves and then began screaming for them to be captured. The vigilantes quickly ran after the two boys but were able to catch only one of them, while the other escaped into the darkness of the night. The captured boy, 19-year-old Mustaqeem Balogun, begged the vigilante not to allow his friend, 18-year-old Soliu Majekodunmi, to escape, but unfortunately, it was already too late since he had already successfully fled the scene. Mustaqeem was asked to open the door to his room, which he did. The vigilantes found bloodstains on the floor and also saw a sack that happened to contain the headless remains of a teenage girl. Mustaqeem was ordered by the vigilantes to take them to where he kept the victim's head. He then led them to another community, which was a walking distance from the crime scene, where they had been burning the head inside the clay pot. At the scene, the vigilantes arrested two more suspects, 19-year-old Abdulgafar Lukman and 17-year-old Waris Oladeyinde, who were overseeing the burning of the head in their father's premises. The vigilantes recovered the clay pot and then called the police to the scene. The three suspects were taken into custody, while Soliu was arrested the next day and also taken into police custody. Two of these boys would later make a chilling confession that will probably leave you feeling very horrified. At the police station, Soliu confessed that the head burnt inside the clay pot belonged to his 20-year-old girlfriend, Sofiat Kehinde. He then went on to give details of his relationship with her and also how the disturbing crime came about. According to Soliu, Sofiat used to date his friend Mustaqeem until they broke up in September 2021 after Sofiat's family kicked against the relationship. About 3 months after their breakup, Mustaqeem and Soliu were in a ceremony when they saw Sofiat. This made Mustaqeem recount his past relationship with her to Soliu and then ended the discussion by asking Soliu if he was interested in dating Sofiat. Since Soliu already liked her, he said yes, and Mustaqeem then shared Sofiat's phone number with him. Soliu then got talking with Sofiat. He asked her out and she accepted. The two of them began dating and also got intimate. What Soliu didn't know at the time was that Mustaqeem did not introduce Sofiat to him for just no reason. He was playing a long game, which would result in the tragedy of that Friday night. Mustaqeem had seen a video on Facebook discussing how to quickly become rich through money rituals. Since he had always nursed the idea of becoming wealthy at an early age, he downloaded the video and then paid attention to the instructions given by the instructor. According to him, the instructor listed some ingredients in the video, one of which was a human head. He said some of the ingredients were available for purchase in the market and that it cost around 3,000 naira. After Mustaqeem had completed his first stage of the plan by making Soliu to successfully date Sofiat, he proceeded to sell the idea of becoming extremely rich at a young age to him. He showed Soliu the video he downloaded on Facebook and then suggested that they use Sofiat for the ritual since she was calm and also easy to lure. Soliu was said to have been angered by the idea of sacrificing his girlfriend for the ritual. However, Mustaqeem convinced him that it was a very easy process and that no one else would know about it except them. Soliu eventually agreed to the plan, and Mustaqeem assured him once again that they would become wealthy and also forget about their past. According to Mustaqeem, the plan was that Soliu would invite Sofiat to his house, make love to her, and then signal him to come in and eliminate her, after which they would get a place to burn the head together with other ingredients before discarding her remains in an uncompleted building. He said Soliu asked him several times if he was sure that the plan would work, but he assured him that it would work and that they needed just 3,000 naira to purchase the needed ingredients. Mustaqeem later came up with the money and then asked Soliu to accompany him to the market to buy the needed ingredients, which he did. According to him, they were supposed to eliminate Sofiat on the 21st of January 2022, but his father invited him for a program, so he had to postpone it. Since he had already gotten the other ingredients, Soliu assured him not to worry, that Sofiat would not escape from them. On the 28th of January, the two of them decided that it was the D-Day. According to Sofiat's sister, Sofiat had woken up early to wash some clothes, after which she took a gallon to fetch some water. Around 6 p.m., they decided to cook beans. Her mother provided the money for the beans, while Sofiat bought them and also began preparing the beans. Around 6:30 p.m., Sofiat told her sister that she was almost done preparing the beans. Then, some minutes after 7 p.m., she told the sister that she wanted to go out. Sofiat didn't inform her where she was going or how long she intended to stay. According to the sister, Sofiat usually returns home very early whenever she goes out. However, that day became an exception. When she didn't return home by 8 p.m., the sister called her around 8:30 p.m. to ask if she was not coming home. Sofiat told her she was on her way, but then something stood out. The sister observed that her voice was unusually low. She asked her to be twisting her voice and then ended the call. However, when Sofiat didn't return home some minutes after the initial call, she decided to call her again, and that was when she was told by the network provider that her phone was switched off. The sister went to sleep with the hope that by morning, Sofiat would have already returned home. Meanwhile, Sofiat had left home that night to visit her boyfriend, Soliu. Before she arrived, Soliu had already called Mustaqeem to inform him about her visit. Mustaqeem then borrowed a clay pot from his relative and rushed down to Soliu's house before Sofiat arrived. When Sofiat finally arrived, Mustaqeem greeted her and then stepped outside. Soliu got intimate with her, and after the act, he signaled Mustaqeem, who came in to carry a pillow, which he would use to hide the knife he intended to use for the attack. Soliu had thought that since Mustaqeem needed the head for his own ritual, he would also need a part for his own. He suggested that they get a chunk of flesh from her thigh, which he would use for his own ritual. When they were ready to proceed, Soliu held Sofiat's hand and pretended to be making out with her, while Mustaqeem came from behind to launch the gruesome attack. They got the two parts they needed and then proceeded to place the remains in a sack for disposal. The two of them placed the head inside the clay pot and then took it to Abdulgafar's fireplace to burn. According to Mustaqeem, Abdulgafar was not afraid after they told him that it was Sofiat's head they wanted to burn. However, he asked them not to get him into trouble. The last suspect, Wari Soladinde, was not really involved in the process. He was told to watch over the pot, but he had no idea about the content of the pot. Mustaqeem had come in the afternoon to give them money to buy the firewood needed for the act, but he never told any other person except Abdulgafar about the contents of the pot. After Mustaqeem and Soliu had returned to the house to clean up and also dispose of the remains, they noticed the presence of people around the house and also saw people beaming their torches. That was when they decided to lock the front door and then escape through the back door, which ended with Mustaqeem getting apprehended since he didn't know the neighborhood as much as Soliu did. When Sofia's sister woke up the next morning and realized that her sister had still not returned home, she asked her mom if she had seen her, to which she replied no. When she stepped outside the house, she was told that a lady was beheaded in the area the previous night. This got her more worried as she continued searching for Sofiat. The sister then approached one of the people who had videoed the suspects, only to discover that one of them was Mustaqeem, her sister's ex-boyfriend. She then rushed to the police station to file a report, and that was when the tragic news was broken to her. The suspects led the police to the crime scene and also where They had discarded Sofia's SIM card and mobile phone. 17-year-old Waris Oladende was later released from police custody due to his lack of involvement in the crime. However, the remaining 3 were ordered to be remanded in prison for 2 months before they were eventually arraigned in court on 2 counts of conspiracy and murder.
When she come to my house in that time, I told Mustaqeem, Sophia is with me inside. Mustaqeem is outside in that time. I just tell Mustaqeem that Sophia is inside with me. He said, let us do what we want to do. After we buy something, everything that we want to buy to join our head. It's only inside with Sophia. Mustaqeem called me outside that let us do this thing. Don't be panic about it. I'm just he's seeing it in my behavior that Mustaqeem told me that I should hold her hand, and suddenly when Mustaqeem told me that I should hold her hand, I said so let us leave this girl. Mustaqeem told me that make I don't be panic. Well, let we do it. I sit on Sophia and I take her hand to play. Suddenly Mustaqeem take knife to drag her neck. When he's dragging her neck, I'm trying to collect that knife from Mustaqeem. That knife cut my hand. So after that cutting my hand and cutting my leg, so when I just want to drag that knife with Mustaqeem, see the thing that I see that girl just fall down and she can't talk again. She can't be alive again.
At the time this video was made, the 3 of them were yet to be convicted of their crime. This was a very tragic and also disturbing story. Let me know your thoughts on this case in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe to this channel for more true crime stories. Thank you for watching and stay safe.